My servant shall be high and lifted up. Welcome back to Why Hope, the video series that explores reasons for hope in our day. Well, we are in week 4 of Advent now. Christmas is just around the corner. And we are also in week 4 of our Advent season, which I have called Hidden in Plain Sight. And I've been trying to explore some things in the Old Testament prophets, particularly in the book of Isaiah, that you may not have seen before. Now, I'm going to show you something today, which I'm phenomenally excited about showing you. And I have to tell you, I did not discover this for myself. What I'm showing you today is something that I read in a book called God Crucified by a man called Richard Borkham. So he needs to take the credit for noticing this, but well, I hope it'll blow your socks off as it has blown mine off. So we're actually going to start in John's Gospel. So listen to these few words from John 12. And what I want you to notice is he quotes Isaiah twice, okay? When Jesus had said these things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him, so that the word spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Lord, who has believed what he heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore they could not believe. For again Isaiah said, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their hearts and turn, and I would heal them. Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got two different Isaiah quotations, and they feel very different from one another. So the first one quoted here is from Isaiah 53, or sorry, from Isaiah 52, the very end of, which is the beginning of the servant song, which I'll talk about in a minute. And the second quotation used here is from Isaiah 6. Now, the servant song in Isaiah 52 to 53 is about it's the suffering servant. It's the one that speaks about the servant of the Lord being led to the lamb like a slaughter, as a sheep before his shearers is silent. It's the one that refers to, for our wounds he was healed, for our transgression, his stripes were for our transgressions. It's a very familiar one. It's one that we read at Easter. So John quotes that from Isaiah here, and he also quotes from Isaiah 6. Now Isaiah 6, which I think we've looked at earlier in the year, is Isaiah's vision of the exalted God whose train fills the temple, who is surrounded by the living creatures calling holy, holy, holy. And he commissions Isaiah to go and preach to a people who are going to be hard of heart. And that's the bit that John is quoting. So we've got a suffering servant of God, and we've got this glorious vision of God ascended, enthroned on high. And the gospel writer brings these two together and uses them to try and explain why people were turning away, but more significantly, perhaps at the end, his summary is, Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. Okay, so what unites these two texts that leads our gospel writer to bring them together, and how does it connect with glory? Okay, so what unites these two texts is a pair of Hebrew words. And actually it comes clearly through in the English as well. So Isaiah 6, the vision of God on his throne, begins this way. I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. High and lifted up. Isaiah says, I saw God in glory, and he was high and lifted up. Okay. The beginning of the servant song in Isaiah 52 to 53 begins like this. Behold, my servant shall act wisely. He shall be high and lifted up. Okay. Now this, certainly in the way that the New Testament interprets it, seems to be pointing to the suffering of an obedient servant. And it seems to be pointing forwards to the cross, in which case the high and lifted up is referring explicitly to Jesus on the cross. So John is bringing together this vision of Jesus suffering and this vision of God in glory. But he brings them together on the basis that they have this little pair of words which are the same. This is an established Jewish interpretive technique that John is using here. He brings them together and he says, Isaiah said these things because he saw God's glory. And what John is saying to us is, yes, you thought you had a glimpse of glory when you read about that throne room of heaven and the creatures crying, holy, holy, holy. But do you know what? You see that glory more fully when you read on to the suffering servant and you read about the servant who does not open his mouth when he is oppressed, who bears our sins and our transgressions. And this is glory. And John takes these two things together. He draws them together and he says, here's the glory of God. It's not just about the throne room of heaven. It's also about the cross. This is glory as Isaiah sees it. So as John sees it, but Isaiah has laid the groundwork for this. One more place in Isaiah to kind of validate the bringing together of these two ideas. And this is from Isaiah 57. For thus says the one who is high and lifted up. There's that pair of words again. Thus says the one who is high and lifted up, who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place. So this sounds like Isaiah 6, doesn't it? This sounds like that throne room of heaven. I dwell in the high and holy place, and also with him who is of contrite and lowly spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and revive the heart of the contrite. So in Isaiah 57, it's as if those two ideas are brought together. Here's the one who is high and lifted up, and he is both utterly exalted in visible glory, or invisible glory, but glory that we would know when we saw it, and dwelling with the contrite and lowly, which takes us to the cross. This is the vision of glory that John unpacks in his gospel, but he does it on the basis of these trail of breadcrumbs that Isaiah has set for us. Here is glory, God enthroned in splendour and his Son upon the cross. Let me just read those words from John 12 again. When Jesus had said those things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him, so that the word spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. First Isaiah 53. Lord, who has believed what he heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord revealed? Therefore they could not believe. For again Isaiah said, now quoting Isaiah 6, He's blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their hearts, and turn and I would heal them. Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. High and lifted up. Our God is glorious. Isaiah has shown it to us first. Here is yet another reason why we can have hope. Happy Christmas to you.